mud-soaked boots sparking under the dawn. Ride in my hand, casting lines till they gone. Crickets chirping, beef frogs humming the bass. Got hooks in the water, dreams in this space. Reel it back slow, feel the tug pull hard. Backwater, Georgia, fishing stars in the yard. Sunset gold is painting the flow. Crank that line, let the country trap blow. Cypress shadows stretch, a scene soaked in grime. Moving that bobber like it's keeping through time. Bass jumps wild, a fighting outlaw streak. Georgia's waters talking, hear the river peak. Lantern glow, flicker, fireflies on high. Sip on the stillness, the moon's my alibi. Bait box heavy, but patient steady.
Welcome, kayak anglers. You are tuning into the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network, kayak fishing's best network of shows with great hosts covering all things kayak fishing, bringing you special guests covering topics such as shore fishing, river trips, gear reviews, angler profiles, tournament news, and more. Sit back, relax. Let's do this.
Hey, and let's do this on a Wednesday night here in South Georgia, man. We've got a guest. I don't know if everybody knows him. Some of y'all might. Some might all listen to their podcast of the Bass and Brews Podcast. We have Mr. Paul Hills on tonight. So we're going to get this thing kicked off and bring him right on. What is up, Paul?
Hello. That's how we start podcasts on Bass and Brews. So I figured I'd keep it going pretty good here and roll with it like we're doing. I'm doing good, man. How you doing, Harold?
Oh, I'm doing good there, Jabberhammer.
Hey, I got a question for you because this happens a lot on social media. What's my last name?
Your last name?
Yeah.
Hills?
No, it's Roberts.
Roberts, yeah.
Yeah, Paul Hills is the name because I went to University of North Carolina, and this was in the early 2000s, 2000 to be exact. And so at that point in time, we had AOL Instant Messenger, and instead of Tar Heels, I was like, man, I'm gonna have Paul Hills, and you made some posts that I shared that said we got Paul space Heels. I was like, damn. Old Danny boy thinks my name's Hills, but it's not. It's Roberts. Paul Hills is my name on the social media, but it's for the Tar Heels, North Carolina. I just wanted to get out the way, as we start here, so you're not calling me Mr. Hills all night, even though that would work, and I'd appreciate it.
Isn't that your brand?
Well, if you want to look, the only time that you can say you have a brand is if you're making money off of that brand. And I can assure you on the Paul Hills brand or the Bass and Brews Podcast brand, we ain't making no money. So my brand is not too good of a brand at all.
Well, my brand ain't either. I just rebranded to the Reel Backwaters. I was SEG KBF, which is Southeast Georgia Kayak Bass Fishing, because I'm currently running kayak tournaments and things like that. But I'm getting away from that next year and just enjoying just going back fishing like my roots.
Yeah.
So
yeah. We've got a couple trails here. I'm in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. We've got a couple trails here. If they ask for feedback, I'll give my feedback. But, if those guys don't run these trails, I'm not doing it. And so for the folks that are out there TDing, more props to you. Bless your heart, because that ain't an easy job, and I don't have nothing to do with it. I want to show up, fish, and either go home empty-handed or take away some money. But I don't want to deal with all the other stuff, because bass anglers, kayak and bass boats, it don't matter from the bank. some whiny bitches, and I don't want to have to deal with whiny bitches. So, you know, but I get it, man. You want to go back and
Yeah.
just do some fishing and not have to worry about running tournaments.
Yeah, it's just because there's so much more to fishing than the tournament scene and teaching, and I kind of want to get more beginners in it and kind of teach
Mm.
educational style stuff. Maybe do some maybe do some live shows. Go talk at some fishing events and stuff like that. But that's in the works.
So
So
that's very different from me. The really the main reason I fish is for the competition side, the tournament side. Like I don't have nothing to do with running them, but if there's tournaments out there, I want to fish them. Like that fulfills my need for competitiveness, which I don't have in my life. I'm 43 years old. I'm scared my knees are going to blow out, so I don't do any like church softball leagues, no basketball. I don't want to do anything where I got to do any kind of lateral movement or running. And with fishing, that's where my competitive fulfillment comes from. And so I don't like to fun fish. I don't want to teach anybody anything. If I'm out there fishing, it's not tournament day. I'm practicing. I'm trying to learn a new technique, or I'm out there trying to fish for a tournament. That's completely opposite of what I do. Is I'm not a fun fishing angler. I don't want to go out there and just fart around. Like we're out there for a reason. There's a purpose, and I want to be out there for that purpose. And,
oh,
and
for sure.
hopefully it's to try to win some money in a tournament.
Oh, dang right. I'd like to bring home $1,000 out of a tournament.
Shit,
Or
look, I win 100. I'm like, I won. The wife didn't know I spent $200 on lures and shit this past week for this one tournament that I won $100 on. She just sees $100 goes into the bank account and like win. Yep.
that's right. That's right. So you were talking about the Tar Heels earlier, and I was going to question you about that. All right, were you a Blue Devil or a Tar Heel? So you answered that right off the bat. I know that's a iffy question up in them hills up around Raleigh.
It is, and so let me back up a little bit because I grew up in South Carolina, a little town called McBee, still about only 800 people. So you hear folks will say, "Oh, I grew up in a small town. There's 3,000, 5,000 people." I'm like, "That's a damn city, boy." Like my town had 800 people in it. Grew up in McBee. I grew up a South Carolina fan, Gamecocks. Grandpa had season tickets to football. Like I was a true diehard Gamecock fan. And then I got a chance to go to UNC to play football. And so my dad graduated from South Carolina. My grandpa was a huge South Carolina fan. And when I went there, I was like, I went to real Carolina. I don't pull for little Carolina anymore. And so, we had some of these family little deals. And then my mama went to Clemson. So, obviously being in South Carolina, when I grew up, you always ask people, who do you pull for? The Gamecocks or the Tigers?
Yep.
I ain't know anything else. And so when I went to real Carolina, which are the Tar Heels, things changed a little bit. But when you get up here in the North Carolina, you got the Tar Heels, you got NC State, and you got Duke. And it depends. In football, it's North Carolina and NC State. In basketball, it's North Carolina and Duke. And so the rivalries kind of change, even though in the last 15 or so years they've intermingled a little bit more because Duke's got a little bit better in football. But yeah, yep. Tar Heels all the way, baby. That's Paul Hills. It's not my last name. My last name's Roberts, not Hills, even though that would have been a damn good story.
Oh, it would have been. And I'll tell you a story about the Tar Heels and the Blue Devils. I have an old college buddy that lived up there, and he still lives up there, and he was a big North Carolina fan. Well, he has a little son, and as the son graduates from high school, he's a huge golfer.
Mm.
he gets selected by Duke. So you can tell me how that household went.
Well, I've got a daughter that is good in gymnastics, and I met my wife at Carolina, so obviously we're diehard Tar Heel fans, and NC State's gymnastics team is a little bit better than the Tar Heels, and she's got a few years left. But I always tell her, I was like, you go wherever you want to go. I'm going to support you. But if you go to NC State, I will support you. But I will pull for you during your competition, but I'm not pulling for your team. I'm not going to wear no NC State shit. I mean, I'm not doing that. I want her to go wherever she wants to go and be happy and fulfill her lifelong dreams of college. But I ain't pulling for NC State. Fuck them.
That's the Wolf Pack, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep, the Wolfpackers. Yeah.
That's the same thing down here in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So there's several D1 colleges here in Georgia. You got Georgia Southern in Statesboro. Then you got Georgia State, University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, right? So really,
hell of a good engineer. Fuck Georgia Tech too. They beat us in 2001 anyway.
Hell, they like to beat Georgia this past year. Went eight overtimes. But yeah, it's just like all the kids down here in the South go to Georgia. Everybody up in Athens and North Georgia come down to Georgia Southern. Then you just got that select few that go to Tech. So
the smart ones,
yeah,
the ones with the SAT scores are at Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
everybody else goes to the other schools. Oh yeah,
so, but
that's why ECU exists in North Carolina and App State.
Yeah,
for the folks that couldn't get into, we're not going to count Duke. University of New Jersey at Duke.
So yeah, I'm a diehard Georgia fan. My wife's a diehard Georgia fan. And even though I went to Georgia Southern and things like that, I was kind of a dummy in college.
Look, but Georgia Southern used to have not recently, but back in the day, Georgia Southern was a college football powerhouse.
Oh man,
in the FCS days when they were Division II at that time, Georgia Southern had a hell of a football team for years and years.
Yeah, it was that was the Irk Russell days. Good old Irk. But yeah,
with a name like Irk, you better be successful at doing something fun like football. Otherwise, you might not succeed in life after.
So Paul, I recently discovered y'all's podcast a couple weeks ago, right? So, and I started listening to it, and I know that you have the love for cooking and barbecuing. So, kind of tell us what you like to cook and what, looking at your YouTube channel, and you got all these shorts on here. You got cooking and you got fishing and other crap on there. You just having a full time of life. But what do you like to barbecue? What's your favorite thing to barbecue?
Well, being from the South, and for the listeners that might not be from the South, when you say what do you like to barbecue, it's not hot dogs and hamburgers. That's grilling, and you can in chicken, you can barbecue chicken. But let's just make sure for the folks that might not understand, there's a big difference in barbecuing and grilling. And so, matter of fact, I got invited to a quote unquote barbecue my freshman year of college at North Carolina, and we roll up and it's hot dogs and hamburgers. I'm like, what the fuck is a barbecue? And it was just different vernacular for where people were from. But so as far as cooking, man, I love cooking. I grew up with a mama that was a coach, and we all my siblings and I played sports. So, but my mom always cooked, and it was good home country cooking. And we didn't do a lot of barbecue or anything like that. And girl I dated in high school, kind of got into smoking, barbecuing, and I took that and kind of ran with it. The ADHD kicked in, and that's what I enjoyed doing. But I love, my favorite thing to barbecue is pulled pork, Boston butts, hams. I prefer the full shoulder, which is the Boston butt and the ham hock. So it's, if you look at the full shoulder, it's this back part back here. If I could reach it down to where the elbow is. But
Right.
that's my favorite thing to cook. It's the most forgiving meat. You don't have to worry about temperature fluctuations, and you don't have to worry about burning it. I mean, cook it to 200 degrees, and the only way it tastes bad is if you injected it. And so, I love cooking pulled pork. That's kind of what folks come to me for, and what I share with folks, because it's a ton of meat, easy to do. But anything you can put on a smoker, I'm down for doing it. But cooking in general, I just love to cook. And my wife, my wife is Persian. Her dad's from Iran. And so I also have a love for cooking authentic dishes from other cultures. So I spent a lot of time learning how to try to cook Chinese food, Persian food, Indian food. Matter of fact, this past weekend I cooked a couple Persian dishes that I've been working on, and I cooked some Indian dishes. So I just love to cook. It doesn't matter if it's on the stove. Uh, anytime I'm cooking a meat, I try to do it where I can get it on the grill and either grill it or smoke it, whatever it may come down to be. But man, it's just I love to cook and I love to eat. So,
Oh yeah,
you put those two things together,
me
it's
too.
hard to beat.
Yeah, you were talking about the Boston butt and the shoulder and everything. A lot of people when you tell them you're grilling Boston butt, oh, you're grilling the hind quarter of a hog. Hell no,
Yeah.
that's the ham.
Yep. The butts
Yeah,
is kind of a misleading name.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
there are
really like
different
to know where
parts of
that name came from. Why they call it the Boston butt?
Well, I used to know because that was something that I got, and I used to know it, and I forgot it now. But it doesn't matter. You cook a ham,
Yeah.
smoke a ham, and we ain't talking about your spiral ham or anything like that. We're talking about pulled ham. That's that. You can tell a difference if you eat and cook enough barbecue. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. You can tell a difference between some, smoked ham, the rump of the pig, and a
Yeah.
Boston butt. But honestly, in the end, there's not enough difference that the majority of people eating the food would know, and it doesn't matter to me. Just smoke it to 200 internal temp, and it's gonna be delicious.
Oh yeah,
Same thing with
falling
a
out of
whole
the bone.
hog.
Yeah, I can remember back in the day, my grandfather used to cook hogs in the ground.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, would you just throw all the pecan wood in the bottom of the pit, light it a fire, lay a piece of tin on there, put the hog in there, lay another piece of tin, and just let it roll all day long.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
we called that, so in the South Carolina area, we called it pig pickings.
yeah,
So
that's right.
anybody that was running for any kind of political office, or if somebody important died, we had a pig picking, and it
Yeah,
was, you showed up and there was a whole hog. It didn't matter if it was cooked in the ground on a spit, in some chicken wire, or on a grill. You showed up, there was a whole hog, and you came by and it was like a buffet, and you just pulled the meat off the hog, whatever it was. And so we
oh
called
yeah,
that a pig picking. At least where I grew up, it was pig pickings. If somebody said we're having a pig picking, you expected to show up with a whole hog somewhere where you pulled the meat off of, and then there was another 4 or 5 tables of potato salad and coleslaw and baked beans
beans
and
and
all that stuff.
yeah. I tell you a funny story about tater salad
Uh-oh.
or potato salad. So
They call me
my
tater
the middle
salad.
yeah, the middle son, he had a girl, she was from Las Vegas, California area, and we were at Carrie Harriers, which is like a little seafood, mom and pop seafood joint that's been here in Savannah for, golly, 60 years. So we're sitting there ordering, and my wife says she'll take the tater salad along with her fried shrimp. And his girlfriend at the time, they're married now, but she goes, "I'll take some of that tater salad." We all looked, said, "Tater? It's a tater salad. What the hell are you talking about?"
Hey, look, there's a lot to learn when you move down south to how you say words. And what
Yep.
I always tell people is we skip a lot of vowels. And so, you know, there's just be aware of your surroundings and how people are talking.
Yep.
And if you want something and you know that the way we're saying it ain't like it's said somewhere else, just say it the way we're saying it. And
Right.
we're going to know right away, oh, you didn't say it right, but that's okay. We're not going to judge you. But if you come up and say, I want potato salad instead of tater salad, you're going to get a little judgment. They're going to look at you with the head cocked to the side.
Yeah.
And then if somebody spoon it on your plate, they're going to slop it on there like at the jailhouse. And you got a little problem with the guy serving your food. You got a little tiff or something. They're going to slam it on your plate like, you ain't from here, are you? You're a long way from home, boy.
Yeah, that's like when people, I was a big deer hunter growing up, and we always said deer meat, right? We never said venison. And I was with somebody when they say, "Hey, you want some venison?" I was like, "Well, what are you talking about?" "Hey,
What
we
is
killed
that?
this deer, and we got some venison to eat." I said, "Oh, that's just deer meat, man."
Yeah, deer meat. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure, same thing here. People say
yeah,
venison. I'm like, deer meat. Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're right on task with that. Talking about, that's like us going up north. If you took me up to New York City and you put me on the street and tell them to talk, I'll be like, "What the hell are they saying?" I'd look at them twice because of the accents. So,
I've been to New York City quite a few times. Once as a high schooler, and then a few times as an adult. And I'll say this: people with you and I have a good little Southern drawl, and people pick it out pretty quick. But I'll tell you what, the greatest things from New York City that I love in the handful of times I've been up there is one, I'm a huge Broadway guy. I love musicals. I love fucking Broadway. And then talking about food earlier and liking to have really good food, authentic food. Man, going to New York City, I can go eat Chinese food where I'm not getting General Tso's chicken. I'm getting some shit off the menu. I don't know what it is, but it looks good, and I'm either Googling, I'm ordering it, or you go up, you get the bagels, you get the breakfast, the waffles and shit. Like, you go to New York City, people are gonna look at you funny because you're holding the door open for them. You're telling them thank you. They hear your accent and the food. Like, those, you're gonna it will be a great time. If you haven't been, you need to go to New York City. You need to spend 3 or 4 days there. You got to do the tour shit, right? But outside of that, find the restaurants where you can go get some authentic ass food and you eat the food and enjoy the hell out of it and be your Southern charming self. And you will, and if you go to the bar and you start talking and you put on that Southern charm, you won't have to buy drinks the rest of the night. I mean, I'm serious. It's for real. People love it. It's like you came from not even another country, but a whole nother world. It's like you got shipped in on a spaceship. It's wonderful. I loved it. Every time I've gone to New York, it's been great. The food's awesome. You get to meet some really cool ass people and get to see some weird shit.
Yeah, that's like going to Vegas. You know, all them street performers, all them weird people walking up and down the strip. You know, um, you find it. I even find it here kind of funny in Savannah. You know, because I have to drive through downtown, go to work, and you see all these people memorize about these big ass oak trees. They're like, oh, wow, or this cobblestone that's laying on the damn road, and I'm like, have y'all never seen cobblestone on a road before?
Oh, my favorite thing with people that come to, especially South Carolina, you know, North Carolina has them, but South Carolina is like the king of roadside billboards, and that's one of the funniest things that I hear is like, there's a sign for everything on the interstate, and back in the day, it used to be some not so friendly shit.
Yeah.
On that. But south of the border, if you're coming from the South Carolina, North Carolina border the other way,
Yeah.
you got south of the border signs for like 60 miles. There's a south of the border sign every time you turn around. And then in South Carolina and Georgia, there's a billboard for fireworks. It's it's October. We're nowhere close to the 4th of July or Independence Day, same thing. Or, the January 1st.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's fireworks for sale 24 hours a day.
Oh, for a fact, Jack. Yeah, I can go right across the river right now to the fireworks warehouse and buy all I want.
Everything.
Yeah.
You have fireworks show tonight that rivals anything in America.
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about the billboards from south of the border. It's like when you get to Hardyville on I-95 going northbound. From there to all the way to the Mexican Hat there at the south of the border.
Yep.
You're going to see a sign about every 2 miles.
Yep. And now there's a Buc-ee's in Florence, South Carolina. So you got Buc-ee signs left and right.
Oh,
I mean, it's
Lord.
billboard hell. But what's funny is you'll pass south of the border in 54 miles, Bojangles, all these billboards. And then you'll have a sign up there that says, "You're going to hell." Like, it is, if people would drive I-95 from North Carolina to Georgia, you're going to have, if you've never experienced the Southern billboard culture of the Carolinas, you need to drive I-95 because it's not the same everywhere else.
No.
It's that coastal area, that I-95 corridor. You're gonna have everything from places to go eat, places to stop and go to a hotel. You're gonna have adult stores all off of those exits, and they're always the ones closest to the exit. And they always had the best parking lots for people with RVs. And then you're going to have the ones that tell you that, if you're going to have a lot of religious stuff on there. It's amazing. It's wonderful. And if you want to have a good family trip, drive from North Carolina to Georgia and just talk about the billboards.
Yes. And you're talking about Buc-ee's earlier. So south of us, just about an hour and 15 minutes to Brunswick, they're fixing to open up a Buc-ee's there.
Oh, nice.
So you'll
You,
have Bucky's. You'll have Bucky billboards going north and south now.
hey, well, that's great, but you brought up Brunswick, and so fuck Bucky's, because Brunswick stew. Anybody that's listening has ever had Brunswick stew?
Oh
There's a
yeah,
Brunswick, North Carolina, but Brunswick stew originated in Brunswick, Georgia,
that's right.
and
They still
and I
they got a little pot down there that marks a historic site.
do they? I haven't been to that, but yes, Bucky's, but I will say this: if Bucky's made Brunswick stew, they'd fuck it up. Just saying, their food's a little bit overrated. Great gas station. It's like a Tractor Supply and a Sheetz had a baby, and it's a really nice baby, and it's a baby that doesn't whine or cry or wake you up in the middle of the night. But the food is more like the baby with colic that does nothing but cry, whine, and spit up on you all day long.
Oh Lord.
But yeah,
'Cause we
Brunswick stew, baby. Look,
yeah,
the best to me, some of the best food in the world. We've got a couple meccas here in the U.S. Obviously, New Orleans with the
right.
French Cajun
Boudin.
cuisine down there is unbelievable. But when you get into the low country of South Carolina, that's Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina area, that's a culinary place that I don't feel like gets enough credit for the food that they produce there, because we've got so much influence in the 250 years of this country that comes from that area.
Yeah.
And I mean, anything okra related, anything rice related, any of the stew related stuff, like that shit comes from the Carolina Georgia border, Savannah
right.
and Charleston.
Yeah, it's hell, we just went and got fresh shrimp today from Wood Seafood.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer, man. You live next to the coast like I do, and you can get some fresh blue crab, you can get some fresh shrimp, what else? Damn. Some sheephead, some
Flounder.
some redfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Is
you
it
won't
sh-
starve in this part of the world.
and
Just put it
you,
that way.
look, and if you're having a rough time and you need some food, all you got to do is walk down the road and go to a neighbor's house, and I can guarantee you they'll give you more food you can eat in a week.
Oh
And if
heck,
they know
yeah.
you're struggling, they'll feed you every day of the week and won't ask no questions. They'll just invite you over to the barbecue, to the grill out, to the low country bowl. They'll invite you.
That's right. Come on, we got enough.
That's right. And if
We'll even give you a Miller Lite to drink.
that's what I'm saying. If you drink alcoholic beverages, they're going to have all the alcoholic beverages you can drink. If you don't, they're going to have plenty of sweet tea. And if you don't drink sweet tea, then they got a cooler full of ice, and you go to the spigot off the side of the house, and you get some water out the spigot to fill
That's
up
right.
your water.
Even drink out the garden hose.
Yeah, spigot, garden hose, it's all connected.
That's right. But yeah, man, it's I kind of like living in the South. I could do away with the damn heat, but this damn heat can make your balls sweat too much.
But also, look, there's things about the South that people don't realize till they come down here. That the heat and humidity, and that's bearable. You can acclimatize to that, but you can't acclimatize in your neck of the woods to the mosquitoes and the no-see-ums. Now you might be you probably right there on the line where you either got no-see-ums or you don't. But in general, the bugs down here in the South are a whole different level of
For
bugs.
a fact.
Like,
Indeed.
the further south you go, the more bugs that want to fight, fuck, or eat you.
Yeah, we have these little things, and it tell you a funny story about. So we like to go to St. Augustine, Florida.
Oh, I love St. Augustine.
So we took
Love
a
it.
little trolley trip because we took the youngest boy down there when he was in elementary school for just a weekend, and just kind of like a little history thing, right? Um, so we get on this trolley, and we're going under these big oak trees, got Spanish moss on it, and this woman's going, Spanish moss. It's part of the pineapple family, which I didn't know. And well, we're getting off the trolley. I said, "Hey, did you know that Henry Ford used to when he started his Ford plantation down here in Richmond Hill, Georgia, and he started making cars? That's what he found this stuff, this Spanish moss down south, and sent it back north to the automakers up there, and so hey, this is what we're going to stuff the seats with." Well, he started selling cars with this damn Spanish moss in it, and people started damn scratching like hell, going, "What the hell's wrong with my car seats?" Well, there's a little thing called a damn red bug, or if you want to call it a chigger.
Chigger.
You call it
It's a
damn red
chigger,
bug.
baby.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my
And
God.
she's like, "Well, I didn't know that." I said, "Well, use it on your next tour."
Yeah, people always say about wiping your ass with Spanish moss.
Yeah.
And I was like, do not do it. Because if you've ever had poison ivy, poison oak, same thing,
Yep.
and a mosquito bite, if you were to combine that and then add on 2 weeks of that itchiness, that's a chigger. Like
Yep.
those some bitches right there are a whole different animal. And for folks that are outdoors, you know this. Like you can be big and bass. I ain't gonna wear no bug spray because I'm going deer hunting or turkey hunting. I don't want them to smell me. But then your ass sits down into a pine tree grove for 4 hours trying to chase a big old tom. And for the next 2 weeks, your balls, your ass crack, your toes, all the way up to your ears are itching. And it's
Yes.
one of these itches that feels so good to scratch. Like it feels so good when you scratch it, and when you stop, it feels like somebody's holding a lighter to your arm or to your body part. That's a chigger.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Craziness. Especially if you've got sensitive skin like I do. Chiggers are terrible. Absolutely horrible. But
Yes.
Zanfale, if you ever get them, if you ever get poison oak, poison ivy, chiggers, anything like that, get you some Zanfale. It's expensive. It comes in a little toothpaste tube. It's expensive, but I'm telling you what, that's the only thing that'll make you feel better within a day or two.
Oh, I, my grandmom used to just dip us in the damn turpentine bath.
Yep, turpentine makes you
And
feel good for a
yeah,
couple hours after the first 8 hours of you burning your ass to death. You
yeah,
know, people used to say take chiggers and put clear fingernail polish on them because they thought they burrowed under your skin. That's not true. They bite you. They're not in
yep,
you. And just putting clear fingernail polish on that shit doesn't do anything but burn like hell.
they fail. Yep.
Zanfale, I'm telling you,
Fan
you
fail. I'm like,
Zanfale is what you gotta get. I'm telling you, any itchies that you get, Zanfale's the cure.
Zanfale. Let me write that shit
You
down.
gotta the only and the biggest reason I know this is I'm highly allergic to the poisons of oak and ivy.
Oh, I
And when
am
I
too.
was a wildland firefighter, you know, we were in this, and yeah, it's the real deal. It's the real deal. I was in California in 2008. And the poison oak strain they got out there. This is the Big Sur, Monterey, California area. I was with it in a chainsaw for like 5 days. It's head foot tall. It's very different than the poison oak we got down here in the South. Shit tore me up, man. Like 8 weeks. Matter
Ooh,
of fact, I had a pair of pants that I wore that I washed, and I wore those pair of pants a few months later, and I got poison oak again. And come to find out, it was too late for that episode. But I found Zanfale and I started using it. It's magical, absolutely magical.
well, Zanfale it is. Hey, Zanfale, if you want a podcast to reach out to Bass and Brews and give them a sponsorship.
Yep. We can do it. You know, we got the outdoors folks. I mean, if you've
Sure.
never had chiggers or poison oak on your balls or your genitalia area,
Yeah,
you
it's rough.
have never lived life miserably.
No,
There's a lot of miserable things in life, but having those areas covered in itchiness. Hold on a sec. Well, you could have gone out the front door, dude. I'm trying to record a podcast.
good old kids, man. Good old kids, right?
Yep, my 11-year-old's in there aggravating my wife so much. She's like, "Take your ass outside." And you know what he did? He went outside.
Hey, like the good old grandfather and grandmama said, "Get your butt outside. Get out of the house."
Don't come home till the sun's down.
Yeah, or the street lights are on.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, Paul, let me ask you a question. Y'all have a well-established podcast. How do you think that AI is going to affect us podcasters and affect the world of social media here?
And that's two big questions, because one is podcasting goes, obviously, through social media it can affect a lot. I'd be willing to bet a lot of people have seen videos that are AI generated, and unless you like, grandma's looking at that, she believes it. And
Right.
then you get, you're a little bit old, you're a little bit older than me, so you're kind of mid 40s. I'm early 40s, and
I wish I
maybe
was mid-40s.
maybe we can't. Hey man, I'm trying to help you out. You're bald as fuck, so I'm just trying to help you out. Take a compliment when you can be given.
Appreciate it
All
there.
right, yeah, you don't have to say thank you. Just accept it and roll on. Don't denigrate yourself. But a lot of the young kids can see AI shit and go, "That's AI," right off the bat. From a podcasting perspective, I don't see it being that big of a deal, because it's us talking. Now, obviously, somebody could take this conversation we're having in a podcast and dub it with AI to make it sound like we're saying stuff. Um, for our podcast, yours and mine, that's probably not going to happen.
No.
For some of these bigger podcasts, that's a possibility. But for us, for the podcasting side of it, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't feel like it's a big deal, because of it's audio version. You know, there's just a whole conversation that takes place,
Right.
and you can kind of pick on that pretty easily. Um, from that social media, yeah, there's a lot that could change with AI. I mean, we've seen it with stuff in the fishing world, but from a podcasting perspective, there's a lot that goes on in these conversations. Our podcast runs an hour and a half to 2 hours typically. Like, there's a lot that somebody would have to do to be able to put something out there that's not genuine to what
Right.
the actual episode was about. And the same thing with this. You're
Yeah.
recording for a while, so you know does it help with maybe writing your descriptions that you're putting out there? Sure, that helps. But from a standpoint of you interviewing somebody and us talking back and forth and having a conversation driven podcast, nah, man, it's one of the things that makes podcasting so fun.
Yeah. I have been only in the podcast world for about 3 years now. So, and I didn't really, for the first 2 years, I really didn't have I guess, steady schedule because of the way I work. And so now, I'm every 2 weeks, but I really want to start producing more as far as the podcasting goes. And so I have to kind of get ideas to talk it, because you really can't talk on the podcast by yourself. I just don't feel that way to myself. because how many people want to listen to my ugly ass talk for an hour or 30 minutes or 45 minutes just by myself, just
None.
rambling on? None.
Yeah. If you did it for 10 or 15, there'd be people that would listen. And I've got quite a few buddies that have podcasts where it's just them monologuing, but their podcast episodes are short.
Yeah.
But that's one thing with Bass and Brews so Alex started Bass and Brews. I was a guest on episode 9. And then by episode 12, he had invited me on between 9 and 12. He invited me on to be initially as like a little guest co-host. And I was like, shit, I'll do this. I'll be the co-host. Hell yeah. And so episode 12, I started being the co-host. So with him and he started the podcast of Bass and Brews was built around content creators. And, so there's a ton of content creators out there. So there's a huge pool of people to pull from
Right.
where it's not a lot of the same people that you had to pull in. They're not telling the same stories. Also, it was the guest. It was guest driven. So it was their story, their journey that brought them to where they are. And when he brought me on, it was 2 of us, and Alex and I work very well together. Like we have a synergy that we work well together. But we're also very different in our fishing knowledge and our fishing journey. So I've been fishing my whole life, and I fish tournaments. Alex has not been fishing for a terribly long time. And so when we have a guest on, we're able to ask questions from 2 or 3 different perspectives that work. And then, it just brings out a lot of stories from that guest. So the guest driven podcast like yours now and
Right.
ours, there's a story to tell for the guests that you have on. And it's different every week. You've got my dumb ass on right now. I don't know who you had on the week before, 2 weeks before. I don't know who you have on 2 weeks later. But like every episode, it's a different journey, and it's a different story that's being told. And with that, people become engaged with you as a host, but then they're also engaged with whoever the guest is. And so no podcast is the same. And go ahead.
Go ahead. It truly isn't, Paul. And the reason why I like to bring guests on is like you said, to tell a story. How you got into fishing and just your everyday life stuff. And what do you like to enjoy, what you don't like, things like that. So, and that's where I'm carrying my podcast to, is because I'm thinking more just bring everyday people on, that wanted to get into content creation or already into content creation, just tell their story and just let them chat away.
Yeah. Well, Tackle Talk podcast, Andrew.
Yeah.
So, his podcast is primarily him talking, but his episodes are short, and he gives out really good, relevant, educational content. And so it drives people to him, and then he has guests on, and so he can elaborate on stuff. But that's the thing with podcasting that I love, is that our podcast is a not safe for work podcast. We cuss, we drink, we talk a lot of shit. We talk about Bigfoot and just a bunch of random shit. But we still have guests on that are really good anglers. That there are, in between all the bullshittery, there's stuff that people can learn about fishing if they want to get that from a podcast. And so with ours, it blends in, depending on who the guest is, educational stuff, but then their story, and then just some random dumb stuff that we're talking about. So ours is educational. It depends on what you want your podcast to be.
Right.
Ours is not educational. I think I just said it was educational. It's not. Ours is entertainment, not educational. But
Yeah.
we have guests on where you can come in and listen. In between the entertainment, you're getting some educational stuff. But
Yeah.
you know, that's the great thing about a podcast. It doesn't have to be the same thing every week.
No.
You can have me on your podcast, and I've got a lot of fishing knowledge, and we can talk educational stuff. But you know what people are going to get from this podcast is a bunch of dumb shit talking about food for
Yeah.
the first 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And yeah, but we see that's a great thing. You can have somebody on in 2 weeks on your next podcast and talk about, you know, how to fish a swim jig, or how to throw, you know, when and where and how to throw jigs, or how to fish for fish on forward facing sonar.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of realm out there and a lot of talk that can be talked. You know, and there's a lot of people that love to talk. That will stay on and talk for hours and hours and hours.
I mean,
and hours.
this could be a 2-hour episode. I'm not lying. We're 51 minutes in, and
Yep.
like I'm juiced up to go for another hour and a half to 4.
I don't know. The Braves come on. The Braves are on, and I'm a baseball fanatic.
Daniel, it is 2025. You can have somebody, a child, a girlfriend, a wife, go to your TV and hit pause, or just be like, hit record, and you can go. This isn't 1995 where if you don't tape it on a VHS, you're gonna miss it. Daniel, come on, man. Don't ruin a good time because you think it's 1991 and you got to go watch a Braves game now or you're gonna miss it.
Oh yeah, the old TBS days, man.
Oh, TBS days are the greatest. 1 o'clock games, 7 o'clock games, 7 days a week.
That's right. But yeah, you're right. We're in the era of DVRs and stuff like that. So,
Hey, let me ask you this.
okay.
What why are you doing a fishing podcast? What is it about fishing? How long have you done it that you wanted to start a fishing podcast? And let me preface it with this for the folks that are listening that listen to this podcast. Podcasting is not easy. You got to pay for some way to record it like we're doing now. You got to pay for somewhere to release it so it goes to Spotify or Apple. Like, podcasting is not free to put this shit out. Daniel ain't putting this shit out for free. Like, he's spending money. So, and it's not easy, and he's guest oriented, so he's inviting a guest 2 times a month. Like, what is it about fishing that made you want to start a podcast where you have to do twice as much work?
Oh Lord, Paul, you got about 4 more hours on this damn thing.
So
Nah.
I just bought a fresh 12-pack of White Claw Surge. 4 hours, I'm golden, Bo. 5 hours, I might wane off, but 4 hours and 50 minutes, I'm ready to go.
Gotcha. No, really, I grew up in the fishing world. Grandfather fished, all my uncles, my dad, and all them fished. So I have a big background of fishing and being an old country boy. So, but I got into the kayak scene about, golly, about 4 years ago, and I bought my first kayak. It was a Walmart kayak.
A Sin 1210.
No, it was a Lifetime Yukon. Yeah, Lifetime Yukon angler Yukon or something.
You paid the high dollar Walmart prices.
Yeah, the high dollar Walmart price. So, but now I fish out of a new canoe F12.
Big money.
So when I started in the kayak realm, I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to produce, get me a little GoPro, just go figure out where I'm going to fish at, do whatever, right? Fish for whatever I like. and then I got into the kayak bass fishing world after talking to Mr. Chad Hoover himself. And so then I said, I started talking with him. How do you start up a grassroots club and things like that? Get a 10, 12, 15 people together to fish a tournament. And that's where it all began. And then I said, well, if I start a podcast talking about the tournaments, bring a guest on talking about kayak fishing and everything like that. So that's how I end up talking about fishing on a podcast in a short minute.
So a lot of people that we've talked to in the past say that they wanted the podcast to drive people to a YouTube channel. Like that was the big thing when fishing 3, 4, 5 years ago was they
Right.
wanted to do the YouTube stuff they wanted to do the podcast stuff to drive people to their YouTube channel because they become YouTubers and
Right.
fish for a living.
Now,
And yours, what was the catalyst for starting it? You just want to talk to other people about fishing,
yeah,
like
yeah, just talk world of fishing.
yeah.
And I have a website, which I started out. My wife was a big blogger. Uh,
Oh, see,
so-
there's where it comes from. Wife
Right.
was a blogger. Was she doing cooking videos or
no,
like
she
home videos?
she was actually redoing furniture, like
Yes.
taking old furniture, saving it from the landfill. I helped her in the business.
So how many times did you have to ride down the road and your wife was like, "Hey, are you on the way home?" And you say, "Yeah, I'll be home in like 30 minutes." Like, I need you to go to 421 Cypress Avenue, and there's a dresser out there waiting on me right now. I need
Oh.
you to get it, and there's a thunderstorm coming, so you need to go buy like a tarp to cover it.
Yeah.
Did you have any of those interactions with your wife?
Oh, plenty, and I still ride around. I still ride around on duty when I'm working. Man, can that fit in my patrol car?
Look, you're like, my wife could do some badass shit with that right there.
Yeah. So, and she got me into blogging. So I started writing
Yeah.
about my fishing. I would go visit places and just write about them and things like that. Build up a website, and
Mm-hmm.
but all that's fixing to go away, and I'm just gonna continue on YouTube, making content on YouTube, and doing my podcast. That's it.
Yeah.
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 So,
The podcasting world, for us and for me, has been so good because we've created so many connections in the fishing industry
right.
that without Bass and Brews Podcast, we would have never made those. And it's the same thing with us right now with you. Like, we would have never come together if it wasn't for Benya Outdoors,
Right.
Hank or Gerald or whatever his name is. He just lost his PB, smallmouth. You should go watch that video. He's got small hands. But
Who's that?
Huh?
Who was that? Lost his.
Benya.
Oh,
Benya.
Benya.
But that's the thing is there's so many connections to be made in the fishing. I talk shit about bass anglers being whiny bitches, and it's true. But in general, they're really nice and welcoming, and the amount of people that we've had on that have been big time guests for us, or had a lot of followers on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, like they're always open to coming on. They're not asking for money. They're oh, you're just a small town. You're just small fishing podcast. I don't do small fishing podcasts. That's not the case. And so it really does create a big network for people to meet new folks. And then in the end, as anglers, all we want to do is to learn how
Yeah,
to become a better angler.
that's
That's
it.
why.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was done.
Okay. So what you're just piggybacking on what you're saying, Paul, is like if I wanted to come to Raleigh, North Carolina to fish, right? Well, I said, damn, I had Paul on a podcast a couple weeks ago. I'm going to Raleigh for a trip. I'm gonna carry my fishing stuff with me. Hey, do you want to meet up and maybe do a fishing trip and stuff like it. So you kind of build a relationship by having somebody on a podcast, and then if you're traveling, you can say, "Hey, I'm traveling that area. Are you free for a day or so?" Or and try to hook up to go fishing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been to 3 of the last 4 Bassmaster Classics and one of the Red Crest, and the only reason I went was to meet the people that have been on the podcast or the folks that I've interacted with and have some kind of friendship or relationship with on social media, was to
Yeah.
meet them in person. I didn't buy shit. Matter of fact, the only thing I bought at 3 Bassmaster Classics is this grip stick that I got because at the time we had 2 big ass labs, and I thought my wife would like this because she could get the shit off the furniture and the floor better, all the fur. And nope, you know what? It's a prop in my background now. But that's the thing that I really love about fishing, the fishing industry,
Right.
and the podcasting side of it is, man, you get to really create some friendships that without social media, without podcasting, we would never have been able to make. And
No, no.
so a good example, Alex and I have been doing our podcast for 4 years. We've met once. It was 2 months ago. First time we have ever met, and we have done an episode a week since episode 12. We've done an episode a week since episode 12, and he was underway in the Coast Guard for like 2.5 years. We have never met except for once. And he drove his little short ass down from New Jersey to North Carolina. We treated him to bright leaf hot dogs and all kinds of good Southern stuff. But I never would have met him. He's one of my best friends now, and we've met once. And then there's all kinds of people that I've met throughout the industry and in fishing that I
Right.
never would have met without doing podcasts.
Yeah. So, yeah, you talking about meeting people. I had this I started this podcast. Had John Rapp on. He was a representative with Z-Pro batteries, lithium batteries, and we were talking about Z-Pro lithium batteries during the podcast, and just trying to get exposure for Z-Pro at the time. And then he kind of reached with his background and my background in law enforcement. We kind of connected a little bit, continued to talk, and um, so he was associated with the Paddle and Fin Network,
Mm.
which is Brian Schiller started that, and there was a
OG
series
of the podcasting fishing.
Yeah. So and so John kind of reached out to me and said, "Hey, we'd like to have you as a member of our network." So that's the reason why I'm still podcasting. Yeah. So, but yeah, they've welcomed me in with true arms wide open, and I met them down at ICAST last year when I went down there. Uh, so hopefully as I continue to put out episodes and getting more people into the fishing industry, reaching out to different people, and just I hope my YouTube monetizes. Yeah, anybody does, right?
Yeah,
But
that's right.
but I've been to tell you the truth, I've been trying to get my monetization going, and I'm breaking down right now for the last 6 months of the year to get them numbers up where I can get a little bit of money flow in. I'm not talking about millions of dollars, but $200-300 a month wouldn't be bad. Extra
Pay
in
for
your
the
pocket.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's where I stand at. And then you're talking about brand deals and working with companies and things like that. So it's it's coming together. But yeah, man, I've enjoyed talking with you tonight, as a matter of fact, and hopefully we can get more people over to the Bass and Brews listening for y'all and find y'all jokesters over there. That's what the first time I heard an episode, y'all were talking about some kind of damn red hot dog.
Yeah, that's the Carolina Brightleaf.
Oh,
It's a red hot dog. It's kind of a North Carolina staple.
okay.
And
Just like a I think there was two companies down here, Roger Wood or Robin's Hot Dogs or Roger
yep,
Wood
yep,
Hot Dogs, stuff like that. So
yep. There's the down south. If you're from the north, you have never seen a red hot dog. And when you come down south, people talk shit about the red hot dogs because they're red. Ain't nothing wrong with them. They just, so the Brightleaf story is they made them red. First red hot dog in North Carolina, and they did that because Smithfield, they're in the Smithfield, North
yeah,
Carolina area, which is the pork capital of America. And this was years, I don't know, 40s, 50s, whenever it was. They did it differentiate themselves from others. They taste delicious, but people just have this. I don't know. Ain't nothing wrong with a red hot
ain't nothing
dog,
wrong.
red rocket, good
Yeah,
ass delicious hot dog, man. Them things good as hell. But that's the other thing that you said was, trying to monetize your YouTube channel.
yeah,
When you can make a connection, as you referenced earlier, you have somebody on your podcast, and then you're traveling through whatever it is. You're coming up to visit, you're traveling through. He's like, hey man, I'm gonna be up on a Friday for like a night. Let's get together, go fish. Bo, that's content you can create for your YouTube channel.
yeah,
And let's catch a few fish. Let's say you're not catching bass, you start catching crappie. You start catching some brim. You start catching catfish or perch or whatever. You're still catching fish, and you're having a good time. Somebody that's new, and so you're creating that content, and then you're being able to cross promotion that content. Like with us, I hope we bring you some new listeners. And I will tell you right now, Alex and I don't get paid a single dime. We have a Patreon page, but that doesn't even pay for our podcast stuff. But Alex is the one that does all the work. I show up on the podcast, I schedule most of the guests, but I do that and I show up. Alex does all of our social media shit. We both have young kids. We have a lot going on, and we don't necessarily promote as well as we should. But that's the other reason why we have never brought on any kind of sponsorships, is because
right.
we didn't feel like we could fulfill anything that they needed as a sponsor to do it. And so we didn't want to create a bad relationship with them. But our podcast is we Alex and I, first and foremost, if nobody listened to it, we still do it because him and I get to interact once a week, every week of the year. And then we have that guest on. So we're meeting new people, and then we're creating those relationships. And so that's fishing in general. If you do tournament fishing, you're launching from a ramp,
Yep.
you're fishing, you get back to the weigh-in. Boats, kayaks, doesn't matter what it is. You're creating relationships. You're talking to people on the ramp about what they did. And then, a year later, you're talking about what they did, but then you're also talking about their family. Like
Yep.
fishing really is a very familiar type of sport where you can create those relationships and have buddies, pals, friends that you can create from fishing.
Hell yeah. It's always a good time to talk to somebody at a ramp.
Yeah.
Hey, even if they're bank fishing,
Mm-hmm.
people see me pull up. I've had several people at some local places down here in Savannah say, "Damn, you got a setup there." I say, "Yeah, I'll let you try it out. I'll let you go
Mm-hmm.
motor around in it." I do run a bow mount trolling motor on it, and but yeah, it's you meet all kinds of people at boat ramps, from old timers. I love talking to old timers,
Mm-hmm.
and what I've got in mind this year, and I tell you, is I'm gonna try to hit some old bait shops around the area and kind of do a podcast from there, talking to the owners and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
exposing the bait shop a little bit. and just do it like a on the road podcast. Just go
See,
record it.
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. Just because people get tired of seeing the same old background, right?
Yeah,
But
and they get tired of going into Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's and
yeah,
Academy when they don't know that there's a bait shop 20 minutes away that's got just as much, if not more, fishing shit, and you can go sit there and shoot the shit and talk boat ramp talk and
yeah.
get all kinds of information and have a good time. Eat a pack of nabs and drink a Pepsi Cola. Like you're
Damn,
not doing that at those.
I ain't heard a nab saying in a long time.
You in the wrong damn part of the South. Then you can tell Savannah's growing up too bad.
Nah, I know.
But you know, I mean, yeah,
If nobody understands the word nab, it used to be an old company. Used to be an old cracker company. It was called the Nab Company, and when Lance's Cracker Company and some others came about, I think the Nabs got bought out by them and stuff like that. But that's what I remember of them. And
yeah,
thinking, or getting an RC and a moon pie.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mine, where I grew up, we had the Pepsi Cola factory was in Terrell, South Carolina, right down the road from McBee, and so Pepsi Cola. The old timers never called it Pepsi. It was Pepsi Cola.
Pepsi Cola.
So we went to the restaurant. It was I need a Pepsi Cola, and the pack of nabs. You know, I think the nabs morphed into, like you said, it used to be peanut butter crackers.
Yeah.
Lance peanut butter cracker was the nab,
Right.
but now, but then it was anything you had to tear a packaging open. So it could have been, you know, a little Debbie, a pack of donuts, Nip Chi, whatever, Captain Wafers, all those pack of nabs that came into it. But where I grew up, it was always Pepsi Cola and a pack of nabs. And when we go to the grocery store, we get like 4 or 5 packs of nabs for a day of fishing. We get 2 or 3 Pepsi Colas, and we'd have a cooler for the nabs and the Pepsi Colas, and then we'd have a cooler for the fish. And when I grew up, we didn't put ice in that cooler. It was just the pond water, and you dipped out when you started catching the fish, and you got them home. They was all live, flopping around everywhere, and, you know, you had to put them out their misery.
Nah, when I was a little boy, we always carried just one cooler, and you put everything in the damn cooler. So you got 4 or 5 fish on top of all your drinks. You reach in the cooler, you're like, damn, that damn thing's slimy.
Slimy.
You dip it into pond water.
That's right.
Off the top.
Yeah. We had that, but my daddy wasn't quite. My daddy was country now, but he wasn't quite as country as I was. So we had separate coolers. But yeah, I've been down to C&T with some folks a couple times where the same cooler the fucking catfish were in, the nabs and the Bojangles chicken, everything was in, and you just had a certain way you had to put shit in there so your food didn't get soggy.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
you know, you were still having to wash off the slime and the fishiness from your your Pepsi Colas. It was cans back in the day. Nobody bought bottles back then. But
No. And hell, I remember shit. I still do that to today sometimes. Just throw the fish in the cooler with the cold beer and.
yeah, I usually if we going out, I try to separate it. But I'm also in an area where the water quality ain't that great, so I ain't trying to get I'm not trying to get
salmonella.
Yeah, well, I'm not worried about salmonella, but I am worried about flesh-eating diseases, and I get, like I said earlier, I got sensitive skin, man, and that eczema will put shit on your skin that just makes me think I don't want to get no flesh-eating bacteria. I don't want to lose a foot or a leg or an arm or fingers. I like all my digits, and they have a purpose, and I want to keep them. I don't want to lose any of them.
I'm very surprised. I'm alive nowadays because I used to dive off into a creek or a river and just wade that joker for miles.
I was just thinking about this the other day. I had some little league baseball player friends of mine where one of them's granddad owned a big old farm, and he had cattle,
Yeah.
and we would be out there in these fucking cow ponds with
Swimming like hell.
sludge over the top of them, swimming, just in there having a good ass time for hours on end. And it's amazing that we didn't get brain eating amoebas and flesh eating bacteria on us. I mean, maybe I'm overblowing it. Maybe I'm immune to that shit. I don't know. But I don't
Yeah.
want to test it out. I'm 43 years old. I like
No.
my life. I have 2 young kids. I'd like to see them at least grow up and go to college. So, I take less chances when it comes to shit that can make me lose a limb.
Limbs and life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 52 right now. So
52.
yeah.
I tell you what, you bald as hell, but you look good for 52
I
and a
got hair a
police
little bit.
officer.
I got a
No,
little bit of
bitch,
hair.
you bald. Now you got shave. You got quit hanging on, Bo. If you let it grow out, it would be a straight up comb over. And at that point in time in your life, you gotta
Might
let it
get
go.
might get me a toupee. Comb
I
that
tell
toupee over and just tack
Bo,
it down a little bit.
Daniel, if you got a toupee,
No, I don't.
I want to see you chase down. I want to see you chase down a perp in that fucking toupee, waving in the wind or getting a fight and it come off. Man, that you want to talk about growing your YouTube channel? Wear a toupee and go chase somebody down and let your fucking toupee come off during the chase. I guarantee you, your YouTube channel will go insane.
It'll probably get like 9 million views on the short in the first hour.
Hey, if you need a perp, if you want to set it up, you buy your toupee, let me know what it comes in. I'll make a trip down to Savannah and we'll make it look like a cops episode. And I'll run from you and I'll fight you and I'll rip your toupee off. And then I'll run from you with the toupee in my hand. And we'll make it a whole thing. We can make it happen.
Yeah, we can make it happen.
And then we'll go fishing the next day.
That's right. And eat some fresh seafood.
Yeah, we'll take your toupee and make some swim jigs.
Some hair jigs. Yeah.
I'm
But
down.
yeah, hey, we'll get it rolling. But yeah, Paul, once again, thank you for joining me tonight, man. Man, it's been a pleasure meeting you, talking with you, shooting the shit, talking about everything from food to fishing to AI to shit to the Tar Heels
Toupees.
and the toupees. Damn. What else we
Nabs.
talking about?
Nabs.
Pepsi Cola.
Barbecue. I mean, you said
barbecue.
food, but
Yeah.
barbecues.
Tim Williams in the chat come in here late, but he's a big barbecuer. He's from Jacksonville, Florida.
Duval. Or how
Yeah.
the news say? Duval.
Yeah. I don't know if he might live in Clay County or if he lives in Duval County.
If you say you're from Jacksonville, you're from
From
Duval.
Yeah.
A1A, baby.
Yep. Detroit Avenue. I bet many people don't know that song. But yeah, man, it's been enjoyable tonight, man, and hope the best for y'all on the Bass and Brews podcast. If y'all haven't subscribed to them yet, subscribe to them on YouTube, subscribe to them on their podcast. Go visit their Patreon. What else? Paul, shout out your socials for me, man.
Paul Hills, PAULHEELS, Paul Hills. But yeah, go to Bass and Brews. We're on all the podcast networks. We're on social media. Alex is a short bum. He's a munchkin bum. If you've ever seen the movie where there's a really short person in it, that's Alex. He's 5'2", and he's a great time. He's a good buddy. But now, go follow us on Bass and Brews. We put out an episode a week, and we're guest driven. It's a good time. We have a good time. It is not safe for work. there's cussing, there's usually some type of drinking involved, hence the brews part of it. But we just have a good time, and we have folks on that we enjoy. They can have 50,000, 100,000 people, subscribers, or they can have 500. We don't care. We just like to, if we enjoy their content and like who they are, we have them on. We come on, have a good time, man. That's what it's all about. We call ourselves your weekly distraction from quality podcast content, and we try to live up to that. And so it's just a place where you're going to get a little bit different fishing content than your tips, tricks, and stuff like that. We're entertainment. We want to have a good time, and it can be sometimes a little overbearing. Sometimes it's not good. I interrupt a lot because I have ADHD, and I give Alex a hard time, and sometimes we pick on our guests pretty relentlessly. So, if you want to come back and have some background noise and put your earplugs in and clean and cook and have your kids, ignore your kids for an hour and a half, Bass and Brews, where it's at.
There you go, folks. You have it. Go follow, subscribe, download. Go back and watch some of their episodes, man. Some of that shit is hilarious. They never disappoint you. I'd go ahead and tell you that. I've probably listened to almost every episode there is by working, when driving home, in traffic. It just gets your mind off of things, man.
Yeah, well, it's great to hear that we don't disappoint you, because we disappoint some of our biggest fans ever. We get texts weekly about how shitty the episode was, and that's what we want. That's what we want. Go leave a 5-star review for the Reel Backwaters. And when you leave that 5-star review, just leave the meanest comment you can leave. But look, when you do this, it's got to be 5 stars, and tell Daniel the meanest shit that you can think of. That's the best way to leave a review. Tell him how terrible he is, how bald he is, how old he is, but it's got to be 5 stars. You do it without 5 stars, Daniel, you let me know, we'll chastise him.
Okay. Sure will, Paul. I'm going to kick you back to the green room. I'm going to close this thing out, man. I'm going to bring you back on for a minute as soon as I get off this live. Chat a little bit with you just a minute. Everybody, go follow him on Instagram, YouTube. Watch some of his cooking stuff on YouTube, his shorts. They're pretty good, and the food looks delicious. So thank you, Paul, for joining the Reel Backwaters tonight. And it's been an hour and 22 minutes worth of non-drama.
Nonsense.
Yeah, bunch of nonsense, not a whole lot of trash talking, but we learn who you are and where you're from and what you enjoy, man. So thank you once again. Everybody wave to him. Bye.
Bye.
By the way, I love the duck hat, man. So hey man, everybody, thank you for joining tonight on the Reel Backwaters. Man, what a guest. That is one funny joker. Y'all go over to Bass and Brews Podcast, follow them, subscribe to them, and join us in 2 weeks. We have a guest from Texas, big crappie fisherman from Texas coming on. We're going to get his brain on some crappie fishing techniques, what he likes to do for them, how to trick them, and one of the best eating fish in the world. So thank you for joining the Reel Backwaters tonight.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, for future shows, like, follow, share, and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out our individual channels and accounts too. Want to be a guest on